Today, let's talk about how you work with waterproof canvas right in time for spring. Welcome, I do sewing and DIY related content, and today we are talking about a new fabric type to be working with, and that is waterproof canvas. So as you can see here, waterproof canvas kind of has a waxy side and then a more colorful side. You can get a lot of different types of weights of this, so very, very thick waterproof canvas to thinner waterproof canvas like I'm showing here. I actually got my waterproof canvas from a mystery box. I'll include a link to when I had opened that. I got two different colors, a brown and a green, and I've used them actually quite frequently. Now, waterproof canvas is interesting to work with as because it is that waterproof texture, you could technically put pins into this, you could use needles, but that's going to put a hole. And the more holes you get into this fabric, the less waterproof it's going to be as the holes can go through there. So if I use a pin, for example, and I take it out, there's actually still tiny little holes in this. So what you want to do, especially when you are trying to prepare this fabric for sewing, is you definitely want to use quilting clips, which we'll talk about a little later. Now for this fabric, you could use it for a whole range of things. I've actually used this to make a raincoat before, which turned out really fun, and I do enjoy getting to wear this occasionally. It even had a little hood. You can see the same brown fabric was used, but you could also use this for the lining of bags. You could use this for outdoor pillow cases. You could use it for patching up tents. There's a lot of different purposes for this fabric, especially depending on the thickness that you go with. So this is a really great option, especially for outdoor making that you do. So now let's actually work with this fabric. So as you can see, I have two different pieces and I need to sew them get together along this edge. So what I'm going to be doing is folding these with right sides together, so very similar to how you would really sew with any fabric. And then I want these to stay together. So instead of using my pins, as that's going to add more holes that I don't necessarily want, I'm going to be using my quilting clips. So this is going to allow it so that these two pieces of fabric stay together. I'm not adding more holes, I'm not necessarily damaging the fabric, but it's going to allow me to take that seam knowing exactly where these should go. Now, when it comes to actually taking the seam, depending on the weight of your material, you may want to look into using a different type of needle. That may be a needle that's more specific for denim or canvas, such as like a jean needle, or you could probably get away with a universal needle that's just a little thicker. So there's a lot of different options, and this would definitely be something to play around with your fabric before you actually began sewing. So you can get universal needles that are a little tougher, a little sturdier, and then you can also try playing around with that denim needle if you are using very, very thick canvas. Now for the waterproof canvas I have here today, it is pretty thin, so I am able to use just a regular presser foot, but if you are using something thicker, you may want to look into a walking foot or almost a knit foot, as that will help you really move the fabric along. In addition, you always want to be sure that you are backstitching at the beginning and end of any seams, and this applies for this waterproof canvas as well. Waterproof canvas that normally does not have any stretch, so you don't need to worry about using a stretch stitch. That straight stitch should be fine when you are sewing it up. So this is what that finished stitch looks like, and it works really well and it looks good. So now let's talk about some finishing touches. So finishing your edges, you don't necessarily need to worry about that with this fabric as it does not fray. If you are using this for some sort of clothing though, be sure that you either maybe put some binding over it just so that it's not scratching your skin. In addition, you do not need to press or iron this. You do not want to, as due to that waxy material, it will melt. Now I've used it here on the inside of the bag to help it be a little bit more waterproof. You could definitely get some waterproof seam sealer to go over any areas where you did sew it together, just to give it that little extra waterproof ability. Have you worked with waterproof canvas before? If you have, let me know your tips and tricks and if this video was helpful to you. If it was, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.